I am visiting right now the Forte Lennox, the Forte Lennox. And this is a fort in an island, the island l'Île de Noix in Quebec province. This fort has a very interesting story since the 18th century, 1700s until nowadays. But I'm not going to explain a lot of that between French people and British people, how many fights they fought against the Americans and afterwards the independence. That's a long story, but what caught my attention is to learn that in this fort, the Forte Lennox that I have right behind, this became a camp of refugees for Jewish people. 300 Jewish were here between 1941 and 1943-44. This is a very interesting story because it teaches us many things at once. These 300 men, the most of them, all of them, were born either in Germany or in Austria. In other words, they felt what the Nazism was in their own flesh, and they flew. They traveled, they crossed the half of Europe in order to reach up to United Kingdom, to the island, and because they wanted to save their life. And once they were there, they were received in a very bizarre way. Why? They say they were Jewish, and they were indeed, but they were also German by birth. So Churchill mistrusted them. Yeah, you say that you are here seeking for security. You are here because you want to be safe, because you want to flee from the Nazis, because you are Jewish. But you are also German. How do I know that you are not spies? So Churchill had this idea. He took them and he sent them overseas, here to Canada. There are many other camps in Shelbrooke, but this is one that caught my attention right here behind me there. Because he sent them there with this thought. Either if you're Jewish and you are actually fleeing the Nazis because you want to save your life, there you will be safe. There's an ocean between. But on the other side, if you're spies, and I do not know, I cannot assure that you are spies because you were born, they actually spoke German because they were born there. He said, there in Canada, you will not be able to boycott whatever I have to do here in order to defend the United Kingdom from the Germans. So he had this idea, and he sent them. And here, the Jewish were received as war prisoners. The story that has been written here in Canada says that it was a misunderstanding. But in fact, all the period, all the time, the years that they were here in this island behind me, they had barbed wire around the island and they were kept as prisoners. The story says that they were agreed the status of refugee, but despite that, they still were kept here, not being allowed to go outside of the island as prisoners. Once the war was over and they were freed, the most of them, they asked for the citizenship in Canada, and they wanted actually they decided to live here in Montreal, which is about 1 hour away from here by car. That made me think about how unrighteous, how awful it is to be born in a country that people is trying to kill you, and to flee, to run away from that country that is trying to kill you, your own people, and do not being recognized by other countries. So actually you do not belong nowhere. This is the story of the Jewish people for many centuries, thousands of years. Nowadays it's not exactly yet like that, but still somehow. It is very tough, it is very hard, and that reminded me when Jesus said that we do not belong to this world, despite that we are in this world. At the moment that you decide to follow God, at the moment that you decide to follow Jesus, and you start to apply the principles of God's kingdom in your life, your decisions will not be the most popular. You will start to talk differently, you will start to behave differently, and the people around you, those who have been your brothers and sisters, your co-citizens, They will start to look at you, to mock on you, and to mistrust you. You know, I know, I think that some of you may relate to this. Actually, at the moment that we declare that our ulterior citizenship belongs to the kingdom of God, we become strangers, we become refugees here in this world. So I'm not saying that it's the same. Of course, the Shoah is not even related to what most of the Christianhood is living, but think about what happens in many other countries in the 1040 window in the Middle East and in the East, where Christians are being beheaded, killed because of their faith. So that made me think. If you are starting to follow God, to follow Jesus, do not be despaired. Your kingdom is above. You have another home, you have another country, you have another citizenship that is yours. And God is assuring you that whatever happens, He already knows. He already told us that our citizenship is not, it doesn't belong to this earth. And we are foreigners despite whatever it happens. But the victory is assured, is for you.